Rabbi Geffen mentioned that famous argument in the Talmud between maybe we'll get the feedback. Okay. The famous argument in the Talmud between Hillel and Shammai. They argued about lighting the Hanukkah candles. Shammai said, on the first day one kindles 8 lights, and from there you decrease by 1 each night until the last night you have 1. And Hillel said, well, we know that, right? On the first day you kindle 1 light, and then each night you increase until on the last day you kindle 8. We know who won because, well, we know what we do. And we also know that the principle underlying this is Ma'alin B'Kodesh, that when one elevates to a higher level, we increase in matters of sanctity. We do not decrease in matters of sanctity or holiness. Tonight we are here for so many sacred reasons. Marking sacred time, elevating sacred time. We're gathered as a sacred community. We're celebrating Shabbat and Chanukah. We've welcomed a child into the covenant. Maybe he's sleeping by now, actually, probably. We are led by our sacred singers of Selah. And we are blessing a great teacher who has blessed our community. Okay, Judy, I'm calling it 3 decades, but I know it's 28 years, okay? I'm not aging you. Judy Weiss. Judy Weiss has served our community and taught so many of us. You'll see how many in a little bit, just who are in the room, of myriad ages and in countless ways. As many of you know, she served as assistant director for the Goodman Center for Jewish Education for many years. She taught the Family B'nai Mitzvah workshop for parents and children. You know where you got your old blue binders? I think we called it the blue binder class. She taught Hebrew. She taught in countless ways in and out of the classroom, maybe in a set format for a class or a prayer, maybe in the hall, maybe in formalized lessons about holidays, prayers, and traditions, or in teachable moments. As somebody remembered her calling all the students outside to look at a rainbow and to lead them in a blessing, what we call teachable moments. Judy has taught I don't know how many preteens and teens preparing for B'nai Mitzvah as a tutor, and she has taught our adult B'nai Mitzvah students for over 2 decades, starting with Aleph and Bet, and bringing them 18 or 20 so months later to a place of knowledge and comfort to read from the Torah for their adult B'nai Mitzvah. If you're an adult B'nai Mitzvah who studied with Judy, just raise your hand for a moment. And there are more online, Judy, just. In each and all of these instances, Judy has elevated us, Ma'alin B'Kodesh. You have elevated us, your students, your fellow teachers, including the clergy, including the administrative staff, including the building staff. You have elevated our community. The educator and author Parker Palmer writes, good teachers possess a capacity for connectedness. They are able to weave a complex web of connections among themselves, their subjects and their students, so that students can learn to weave a world for themselves. While Palmer wrote this generally, I think actually, Judy, he had you in mind. I don't even know if you know him. To know Judy Weiss is to become her student, casually, organically, gratefully. To be Judy's student is to become comfortably and naturally connected to you, Judy, to your family's story, to your deep connection to our heritage, and as well to your many students. And to learn with and from Judy Weiss is to be inspired, to learn deeper, to do more, and to delve into the spiritual depth of our tradition, which you give to us like an old friend. 28 years ago, Dr. Alan Levin, who I believe is with us via live stream from Florida, 28 years ago, Dr. Alan Levin was our director of education. And in Alan's words, he needed a partner running our school who had deep Hebrew knowledge and great teaching expertise. He said, I kind of knew who Judy was, but I didn't really know her. The rest, as they say, is history. In the basically 3 decades since, Judy has taught hundreds upon hundreds of students, from our youngest to our eldest. I think our oldest adult B'nai Mitzvah student was 95. She did this throughout our building, outside on our grounds, and over Zoom, as she's tutored so many through the pandemic, and also taught an adult B'nai Mitzvah class online during the pandemic. Again and again, if you ask Judy's students and their families, they speak to your teaching, Judy, in word and in deed, as much from the words, the letters, and the page as to the example of your life. You teach with unending patience and wisdom. You teach with learning that takes one beyond the lesson of the moment. And you teach with a joy in your Judaism and a joy in your students that is beyond compare. Again, I turn to Parker Palmer, who writes, "As I teach, I project the condition of my soul onto my students, my subject and our way of being together. Teaching holds a mirror to the soul. If I am willing to look into that mirror and not run away from what I see, I have a chance to gain self-knowledge. And knowing myself is as crucial to good teaching as knowing my students and my subject." Judy, anyone who knows you knows how well you know yourself. Yourself as a rabbi's daughter, yourself as an observant Jew, yourself as David's partner in everything, yourself as the mother of 3 sons and mother-in-law of 3 daughters-in-law and a grandmother of 10, who we know you now in your retirement will travel to see even more. You, Judy, as an Ohev Yisrael, a lover of Israel, a friend, a passionate traveler, a reader, a connector of people, and yes, of course, a teacher, a mentor, and a guide who knows your students and your subject. Indeed, Judy's knowing herself and her subject elevates all of us and has elevated all of us all these years. Because when we learn with you, Judy, we want to know more, we want to do more, we want to be more patient, seek wisdom, take on new practice. Because you know yourself, you give us, in your example, word and deed, a gentle invitation to do more, to seek more. The word Chanukah means dedication. It's named for the dedication or rededication of the temple in Jerusalem. The Maccabees reclaimed it, that story of the oil, that miracle we mentioned about. Yes, again, sacredness, sacred space. Rabbi Jonathan Sacks teaches that over time, Chanukah became connected to the word chinuch, or education. Because what we rededicated was not just a physical building, the temple, but living embodiments of Judaism, namely our children, our students, the people to whom we teach and hand our heritage and values. From being the festival of a military victory, Chanukah became the festival of a spiritual and civilizational one. Sachs writes, "I believe this history has a message for us all. It teaches us this fundamental truth, as relevant to our lives today as ever before. To defend a country physically, you need an army. But to defend a civilization, you need education, you need educators, and you need schools. Those are the things that kept the Jewish spirit alive and the menorah of Jewish values burning throughout the centuries in an everlasting light." Dedication, education. Judy, you exemplify both. And tonight we honor and bless you with more gratitude than we can put into words. We are grateful to you for elevating each of us and all of us, for inspiring us to add to the sacred light of our lives through the inspiration you give us to add and to elevate what each of us does as a Jew through our learning and doing. All of us who have taught with you are your students too. We, your rabbis, cantors, educators, teachers, some of us in the room tonight, some online from different places, we are as much your students as those who were named your students, because you've lifted up the sanctity in our lives too. We are grateful beyond words, but we will use words this evening to bless you in 2 ways. One, at the end of the service, I will give you this envelope, which has notes of gratitude and lessons that you've shared with your students. And second, in a moment, we will bless you. But first, I'm going to take a personal note. As many in this room know, for 20 plus years, Judy and I have taught adult B'nai Mitzvah together, one of the greatest gifts of my rabbinate. I figure we've taught together about 120 or 30 adults. I've been honored, Judy, to teach with you and learn from you, and inspired, as you've inspired each of our students and told them you can get to the Torah, you can read from the Torah, and watch them do it. Each time we took a new class weeks before their service to the Torah, and they took the yad and went like this. Judy did that. That experience, your seriousness and good humor, you have profoundly impacted my rabbinate and my life. Impacted me as a parent, as a friend, as a teacher and student of Judaism. Thank you. And I know I'm not alone in gratitude. So as we express our deep gratitude to Judy, I'm going to risk embarrassing you, and I'm going to call you up. But first, I'm also going to call up everyone in this room who calls themselves in some way, shape, or form a student of Judy Weiss, which means you were her. She tutored you, she taught you in a class, or you're a parent whose child she taught. However you define yourself as a student, come on up, and we're going to offer two blessings, one that Isaac Friedman and I will offer, and one that the rest of you will offer together. Come up, come around, face the congregation, and come around Judy. That includes our colleagues, our rabbis. Kendra Goldstein's out of town. He's here in spirit. Dr. Goodman. Any of our teachers in the room? Careful, don't go that way. There's fire. Everyone's over here. Come on. Oh, come. There's lots of. So here's what's going to happen. As some of you may know, there are 5 versions of the Kaddish. They're not all mourners' prayers. Sorry. And one of those versions of Kaddish is called Kaddish de Rabbanan. It is a Kaddish, a version of the Kaddish which praises God's name and praises and asks for well-being and health and great things for our teachers. And it's said at the conclusion of a course of study. Well, Judy, I know you're never going to be done studying and learning, but I'm going to share with you a contemporary version, Debbie Friedman's version of Kaddish de Rabbanan, and then I will lead all of you in the priestly benediction as we'll bless Judy together. But first, Isaac's going to help me with Kaddish de Rabbanan.
Say amen. We ask for peace and loving kindness, and let us say amen. We ask for peace and loving kindness, and let us say amen.
I invite all of those who are standing up here to share with us on the count of 3 the English of the priestly benediction, and all of you in the rest of the congregation after each line of English. I know, Judy, some of your students said you'll be upset they're only doing English, but it was a little more easier for cohesion. I'm sorry. After each line, we invite you all to say, Ken Yehi Ratzon. May this be God's will. Okay, ready? Echad, Shtayim, Shalosh.
May God bless you.
Son. Ken Yehi Ratzon. Let's join in Shehechianu.
This is pretty awesome. The Talmud tells us that when you are given over to educate a child, you are part of creating that child or that person. And I have had the privilege and the honor to teach and to educate so many people, so many children, adult children and children. And it has really been my honor. And that's so powerful. And to know that I've had an impact on others is so important to me and so very meaningful. And I want to thank you all. Thank you all for letting me be part of your lives and being part of creating who we all are together.
Unless you think Judy's completely retired, she is teaching a special adult B'nai Mitzvah class Monday night, so we're bringing her back occasionally.
I encourage those of you who have not gotten to give Judy a hug or say hello or give her your gratitude to meet her at the Onig Shabbat at the conclusion of the service so you can have that moment.